guys, Paul back here again with a brand new detailed belt review, and in this one we're going to be taking a look at the brand new 2020 WWE United States Championship adult sized replica belt. Right, so this is going to be a bit of a longer video again. What we're going to do, first of all, we're going to do a quick detailed run through of this belt. Later on in the video I'll take all the plates off of this strap. We'll take a look at the back of the plate, see how the belt's assembled, just give a detailed overview of how this is put together and how this belt looks. Cool. Now before talking about the belt in detail, we'll just take a quick look at the belt bag. Pretty standard story here, same material as always, the kind of velvet feeling material here. We got the center plate design on the front of it there, which looks really cool, and of course it reads United States Replica on the bottom of the bag there. So I like the customized belt bags they're doing now. I've mentioned this before, looks really cool. Okay, where do we start with this belt? When it debuted on TV, I've seen a lot of split opinions. It's definitely a divisive belt. There's some people that absolutely love it, there's some people that really hate it. I'm leaning towards the loving side of it, to be honest, just by looking at this in person, but we'll talk about it. So we'll go on to the simulated leather strap first, and as you probably have seen if you've seen any of WWE's newer offerings, the simulated leather straps look really nice. There's no stitching around the border, and the design on the strap follows the belt used on TV really nicely. It looks really good. 2x6 snap box on the left hand side, so that's the male side 2x6. That's a little bit strange. You would tend to see a 2x8 or a 2x7 on this side, just so there was snaps closer to the plate so smaller guys could snap the belt together around their waist. But they've gone with a 2x6, which it looks fine. I have no issue with this. The detail, like I say, looks really nice. The entirety of the strap, actually around the plates as well, have this nice looking kind of pebble looking texture. I don't know the best way to describe it, I'll go with pebbles. And moving further along, just outside either side plate, we have this kind of vertical stripe with 5 stars. That's the same on the other side, so looks really good. I like the little bit of subtle American theming in the strap. The stars is more than enough. Obviously the US spinner, if you've seen the strap for that, it's got the red, white and blue stitching. It's got these stars all over the strap. So this is a little more subtle, and I actually really like it. I think it's a nice little border for the plates. It ties into the design on the plates itself. Moving on to the right hand side. So obviously the belt came brand new from WWE Euroshop, so arrived to me late last night. So really impressed with this, a 2x5 snap box there, and the gold and silver tips. So the tip's a little bit strange. It kind of just looks generic to me. It doesn't exactly scream United States. Again, if it had some stars, if it had an eagle on it, it would probably be more obvious as a US belt, but I have absolutely no problem with it. It could be just the tip design they might be going forward with belts, so who knows. It does look really good. The detail on it's really nice. One thing that I will get onto more when I talk about the plates is a lot of the recessed areas have a texture to them which looks really nice. One thing I would say that I don't like on this is it kind of looks like they've not cheaped out, but they've gotten a bit lazy with things, and this is an issue on spinner belts as well. The top of the tip here is nickel, but immediately on the side it's gold, when you would expect this part to be nickel as well, same with possibly the back of it. So I don't like that they've just immediately gone silver to gold on the same piece, especially because there is a little bit of gold spilling onto my particular copy here. You can hopefully see on the edge of the tip, there's a little bit of gold, the gold colouring spilled onto it. It's not a huge deal, but just that's a point I would like for them to have addressed, would have been having the silver colouring all around the tip would have looked cool. The feel of the strap looks really good. You might see it starting to crease up on the front there already. I'm not 100% certain, but it does feel a little bit more flexible than most WWE simulated leather straps, so I'm not sure if the wrinkling up on the front here is just because the materials are different. I mean, the flexibility isn't great. Obviously that is being weighed down by the gold tips, so kind of that side's a more fair example, and I'm probably just imagining it. It does feel, the rubber on the front feels a little bit different, so it might just be that. I'm not entirely sure, if I'm honest. Again, we've got the 5 stars on the side of it there, kind of US themed. We'll flip the belt over, and you can see it kind of wobbles about because this belt, the plate on it is so massive, which we'll get onto in just a moment. On the back here, we've got pretty standard backing, the black simulated leather on the back here. We've got the patch, the 2 stickers. So of course, the patch in the bottom left reads 2020, so a very new replica belt. the WWE holographic sticker, the warning sticker, both are actually peeling off, and all these screws that you can see on the back. So if you look at the back of the center plate here, you'll notice how many screws there actually are, and there's what, 6? There's 12 screws on the center plate alone. And if you saw my video talking about the Eddie Guerrero Undisputed Signature Series belt, you would have seen how impressed I was with the amount of screws that had. So again, I have to reiterate, I'm really happy with the amount of attachments the replica belts now have to the straps. It makes them a lot more secure, especially when the belts are starting to get a lot more heavy. So a few complaints I've seen of this belt is the design works really nicely, but on TV with all the lights, I mean on WWE TV, they've got lights from every angle. I've seen a few people saying that they don't like the way this looks on TV because there's too much light on it and it kind of catches different angles. And I sort of understand that. The very first image we got when it debuted didn't look too great because it was under all the lights, it was on a platform. But studio photos of this thing look amazing, and we'll get into the details of the plates right now. Right, so where do we start on the plates? I will start on the side plates, we'll build up to the center plate on this belt. So of course on the side plates we continue with the removable, customizable side plate theme. I think now that the US belt has been updated, the only belt, if I'm right in remembering, that doesn't have custom plates is the 2 tag belts. So we can probably expect to see those changing in the very near future. Once I disassemble this belt, I will get my calipers and I will measure all of these plates exactly. The weight of this belt, I have weighed it, so I'll put the weight of the entire belt down here just now. It's a really good size belt and definitely it feels really solid when you're holding it. But yeah, talking about the side plates, like I mentioned when talking about the tip, hopefully in these recessed areas you can see there is a texture which does continue onto the center plate. And I have to say, I absolutely love it. I think it looks really cool. It catches the light at different angles, this texturing, so you'll see it kind of sparkle at one angle, you'll see it kind of look a bit different at different angles, so that's a part of this I absolutely love. This texture, I believe it's because of the actual process that was used to make this belt. Now, for those that don't know, this belt was not CNC etched. As far as I'm aware, this is according to Belt Fan Dan, who, for those that don't know, is the best source of any belt-related news, any dirt sheet site that talks about belts. All their news comes from Dan. So if you want to follow Dan, go ahead. You get the belt news as soon as it really is publicly available. That being said, according to Dan, this belt was made in a new process that wasn't used on any belt previously made, and that is called direct metal laser sintering. Now, the idea of this is most of us are familiar with what 3D printing is, and this is a similar technique with a few differences. As far as my understanding of it, I've just done a little bit of research to try get my head around it. What it is in the same process as 3D printing, it's a 3D model on the computer, and where 3D printing, a filament is heated through basically a CNC, a computer operated arm that will print material wherever it's needed, so it would like print a raised up end and shit like that. The idea of this direct metal laser sintering, was that it? I can't remember. The idea of this is it's kind of a metal powdered box. I'm really doing well at this. It's basically, the idea is it's a metal powder, a laser will harden a 2D layer of that metal, the plinth will go down and then it will laser again. So this is built up in stages. The real belt, I should say, I'm talking about, not the replicas. These are casted. They're toys, remember. So the real belt, it would build up basically layer after layer. The laser would harden a certain amount of metal wherever the details are needed, and through stages it will eventually be built up into this design. And because of that, it has all the texturing in the recessed areas. You can polish the top sections, the raised areas, so they don't have the texture, and that's kind of my understanding of how this belt was put together. I could be entirely wrong there, and this could all just be shit. Regardless, that's a little bit of insight into what my comprehension of the process in making this belt was. You're welcome. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, again, talking about the details of the plates. The side plates look really nice. It is actually a continuation of the side plates that were on that belt, the belt that this has replaced. It's a very similar shape. It kind of has these slanted corners, the stars in the corners. And I absolutely love that. I love that it harkens back to the previous design. If not that obviously, it's a little bit subtle because the plate's been widened, it's accommodating the circular plate, but in all honesty, I love that they've kind of taken design elements from the old belt and included them on this. Really cool. About the side plates, I've seen some Photoshops adding some colour to these because it is a little bit strange seeing the amount of colour that's on the centre plate and then seeing that the side plates have none at all. So I've seen Photoshops with details here painted in a little bit to match the centre plate and it looks really good. I'm undecided if the lack of colour on the side plates is a big deal. I personally think it looks really good just with the texturing catching the light. But the Photoshops do look pretty good where there is colour added. It certainly does tie into the centre plate a little bit more easily, but I would say the customizable Superstar side plates, they'll be painted, so maybe that's why there's no colour on the side plates, just because the Superstar plates will probably be overwhelming enough maybe with colour. Who knows? The right hand side plate is pretty much the same story, it's just a mirrored image of the kind of side plate holder. Again, follows the design of the previous US belt, which I really like. I'm a fan of that, and I do like how it's got multiple it's got the look of multiple layers to these side plates. That looks really cool to me. Really love that. Okay, now we're going to talk about what is the main event really, and that is the center plate to this belt. And I'm probably going to just gush and be like, oh my god, look how amazing this thing is over and over, but just bear with me. Initially, when you just look at the plate, there's so many details that are just literally sticking out at you. First of all, the champion banner. It's massive, like seriously, it sticks out from the plate amazingly. It looks really cool because whereas the rest of the plate kind of curves flat, the champion banner doesn't curve as much, so the N and the C kind of raise up higher the wider it goes out, if that makes sense. The United States lettering just looks really incredible. It's 3D, like it sticks out about 5mm from the rest of the plate, which looks really good. Like the stars as well around it. The 3 stars either side of the United States, the gold ones, and the 4 silver colored ones underneath, they look really good. Like the fact that they're 3D pointed upwards, like just shows how much unnecessary detail this belt actually has in it. And when I say unnecessary, I mean like they could have done it like flat, regular, but I suppose it makes it more difficult for people to bootleg it then, so, and why would you when the replica looks this good? Continuing with the center plate, I already mentioned the US and the champion being 3D as well as the stars. We'll leave the top to last. Talking about the eagle, this bit is ridiculous. Like the 3D popping out of the eagle is just like, it's, the only thing I can compare it really to is the bullhead on the Brahma bow belt, because that thing sticks out 3D like crazy, and this eagle and the rest of the details on the center plate, in all fairness, is similar. Like there's so much detail, there's so much texturing in this. There's every level of feathers on the eagle's wings has a different level. Like the top parts here go down a bit, and then there's these layers, then you go down a little bit more. Even the bottom part of the kind of tail feathers of the eagle have a texture in them, and they're 3D. And even, okay, this part's impressed me because I didn't even notice it until right now, but you see the stripes from the American flag. So we got the red and white stripes here. So it's flat at the outer parts here, but then it bulges up here, so it kind of goes like that, if that makes sense. It bulges up, and then it does it again. So it's almost like it's flat, raises up, then raises up again, then it's the eagle. When I'm talking about unnecessary detail, like the stars being 3D, talk about the detail being unnecessary, but it's so much better because it's 3D like this. Like that is so cool. That is the first time I've seen anything like that on a belt. Like that's a detail I wouldn't even think to add, but the fact that it's there just makes this even more impressive. The head to the eagle has been a little bit of a criticism and a talking point that I've seen online, mainly what's either side of it. But the head of the eagle looks okay. There's, as probably as expected, there's a little bit of gold and silver spillage over details, like the claw on the right hand side here has a little bit of gold spilling onto parts that would be silver as well as. But yeah, there's always going to be some errors. There's always going to be some spillage of paint, and that's not a big deal in the slightest. So the area either side of the eagle's head, a lot of people compare that to really phallic imagery or Brock Lesnar's chest tattoo. So whatever you want to see there is whatever you want to see. Now, at the top of this belt is probably the part that I've seen most people, maybe not criticize, but talk about modifications that, in addition to painting the side plates. Now, what most people are talking about is the area around the stars. Now, obviously, we're all familiar with the American flag. It looks a bit strange having these stars without any blue behind them, and I do kind of get that. I've seen many Photoshops, which I'll put up on screen as we talk about this, that have this area Photoshopped in and painted in blue, and it does look really good, don't get me wrong. But I have to admit, because of the texturing that's on these plates, seeing the belt in person, it doesn't even seem like that big a deal. Obviously the blue paint will probably make it look better, but the way this catches the light at different angles, it makes the stars kind of pop even more. And I'm not sure if adding more paint will kind of make this belt look too kind of colourful, too much paint. Because I mean, the biggest criticism of that in the US spinner, other than US spinner spinning and having stones, was the amount of paint on them, that it was literally just a flag. And I think this maybe potentially would get the same criticism if it had all that paint. That being said, I think it looks great either way. I like it a lot. I have to say, this is impressive. It looks a lot better to me in person than I actually expected it to. But the detail is phenomenal, honestly. The texturing does look really good. The way it catches the light, I think that probably is the reason for no paint around these stars, because it does look really good. The way it catches looks really nice. One thing I also like is the edges of each plate, side plates included, have kind of a stepped down layer, and kind of this stepped down bit does also have the texture in it, which looks really good. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic review of this belt done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew probably just one of the side plates and the center plate. We're going to take a look at how this belt is put together. And we're going to take a look at those oh so loved hollow plates. Right, so what I've done is I've unscrewed this plate and the center plate. Let's take a look at this. Oh wow, okay, so the texturing on the strap itself continues on the whole strap. Really unique texturing. It's not similar to what was on any other belt as far as I'm aware. Nice one. Now this answered a question I had earlier on that I was going to mention at this point anyway, but while unscrewing it I learned the answer to it. These plates are very thick. The side discs themselves, as standard, wouldn't be able to reach the back of the strap to actually screw into place. So what they include is each side disc on this belt has a screw that is about 2.5 times as long as the regular screws that come on any replica belt really, but hopefully that's showing up there, that this is pretty much, it's probably closer to 2 times as long as the standard screws, but yeah, so that is what attaches the removable side plates in place on this belt. So you can see, actually this is quite interesting. So there's the back of the side plates. You can see they are of course hollow. Got a good weight to it in all honesty though. But this does have, it has the standard kind of holders that go in place on most side plates at the sides there, and as well as ones top and bottom to kind of hold it from in place and to stop it wobbling about. But what it also has is these sticking out posts that guide the screws all the way through. And actually, yeah, the side plate holders sit perfectly. Okay, I've put the plate upside down, but yeah, they fit into these holders, and then the longer screws have to go all the way through the strap and through these. This is an interesting way they did it, but this is one of the issues that occurs because they refuse to allow these to unscrew from the front. Because this unscrews from the back, and because these screws are twice as long, if you lose one of these, where are you going to get another one? That's the only issue I see occurring unless WWE starts selling replacement screws. But yeah, the side plates look really good. Side plates on most belts these days are just holders for the removable side discs, so there's never really much to talk about there. But I'm interested, and I'm quite impressed with how this was designed, because that's really good. It is solid as well. So this is the part that will upset people, because brace yourselves. I don't know if you'll be ready for this, but fucking hell, the belt's hollow. Now that'll upset a lot of people, but look how cool this actually looks from the back. So you can obviously see all the, is it 12? Yeah, 12 posts to screw this onto the strap. But as well as that, you can see the detail of this thing. Right, so before I get any further into talking about the center plate, got my calipers here. I'll measure the side plate first of all. We'll probably just go in the middle of the plate there. So I don't know if that's showing up, but... So we're looking at about just shy of 9.5 mil for the side plate. I know depending on what angle you kind of put it at, I'm trying to keep it straight. Well, maybe it's less. No, it's, yeah, just shy of 9.5 mil, I think, thickness. So that's not bad. That's really quite impressive. This thing, well, you can see, hopefully, this part at the front is wider and then it shrinks down. Same with there. It's so much wider at the top and then shrinks down. So we'll go. Okay, so I think I've got it. I've tried to angle the caliper with the angle of the plate, but we're looking just over 13.5 mil thick at the edge of the plate. Top of the plate, we're looking just over 19 mil. We'll do it. Oh, that was the bottom, sorry. We'll do the top now. Just over 17 and a bit, 17.3, 17.4, depending on kind of where you put the caliper on the plate. But we're looking at, like, these plates are just ridiculous, honestly. Okay, so talking about the hollowness of the plates, this upsets a lot of people for some reason. Again, you can't expect a toy replica to be the same quality as a belt that costs thousands to make. That is just ludicrous. So I personally have absolutely zero problem with the plates being hollow. Do you know why? It's because when it's on a strap, oh my god, you can't see that they're hollow anymore. Actually, it would look pretty cool if it was an all gold belt like that, wouldn't it? Okay, so that's pretty much all there was to really talk about this belt in this video. I hope this review was helpful. Like I say, I go into details just so anyone that's thinking about picking up these belts has an idea of how it's put together. If you're asking my opinion on this, I said it for pretty much like 4 belt reviews in a row that this is the best replica WWE have ever made, etc. This is probably the best replica WWE have ever made. Like, as far as like the depth of the detail, the 3D effect, even the strap being so detailed, this is amazing. Like, I went on about that Eddie Signature Series Undisputed being amazing because it is. It is, I think, the best single layer replica, but if you're talking about like 3D details on a replica, how is something going to top this? When the eagle's, like, that eagle, if you hit someone with it, it is taking out someone's eye. That is how the eye for an eye match is going to end. Apollo Crews is going to do a run-in and attack Rey Mysterio with the US title. And that eagle, the star on the eagle, sticks out so much, it's going to fucking gouge Rey Mysterio's eye out. That being said, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe to the channel. The support I've gotten recently for these reviews and the videos I've uploaded in the past few weeks has been outstanding, honestly. I cannot thank you all enough for the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, the sharing of the videos. I was doing my outro, but then my neighbours started to make noise outside. So, let's just call it there. Thank you again for everyone that watches this video. I hope this was helpful to anyone thinking about picking this belt up potentially, or anyone that's waiting on this belt arriving. You got a good belt on the way to you, so thank you for watching. Cheers. That's not in millimeters. It's not 30 mil. That's millimeters. There we go. This is going very well.
Yo, monkeys, it's me, DDP. And if you want to get one of the greatest belts made for you, go to Paulmartinbelts. That's right, sucker.